Okay, let's see a window. I don't know, what are you, can you see my page? Can you see page ne Pranzi GitHub? Okay, that's fine. So let's proceed. So I've just opened another account with my work email, but this is what we want to be able to work with and to be able to do. So part of what we want to do is create our project, whereby we can go to create repository. And then in our create repository, we then want to make certain things available. So, like we had said, we wanted to be a mobile phone system, basically, or mobile phone record system. So you can call it mobile phone records. That then becomes the description of our project, and then we want to give a description to what this project does. So the project will contain details of a mobile phone system, something along those lines. We can also make it public so that people can see it. We can add a readme file. Then we want to create our repository. Right. So this is where we want to be able to add information, or want to be able to make this public. So for example, we can go to settings, right? Under settings, I can add collaborators. So remember, I was saying I need you guys to have your accounts. So if I go to add people, I can actually pick an individual. So the last one we had, right? But I can see, I hope this is the one that we had picked. Right? So I can add that individual to the repository. So what this then means, this individual can now actually contribute to this project. Is there anyone else who's got a working GitHub account? Sorry? Takunda. Let's see if it'll pick it. Is that your GitHub name? I couldn't find anything. Can I have a name that works for some of you other guys? Sorry? Simba Rashe Nundu. Is that your username?
Yeah. My username is Simba 0778.
0778.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So what this then now means is, for example, I've added these individuals. I'll need to also add you guys so that we can be able to add to this. You'd also need to accept the invites so that you have access to our repository. At the same time now, we have our wiki, which is this one. Right? We can then create what we want this project to be about. So you can go to create the first page. In our first page, we can now be able to write about this repository. What had we said we wanted our system to be about? Can we just have someone to help us with what we can put? Someone had said, welcome to the mobile phone records. Right, with this mobile phone records, we want to know what this is about. A platform where all mobile devices and their details are stored and used for future reference, etc. Okay, so we can just save that since it's the first aspect. So in other words, we now have a wiki page. So each contributor is then actually noted. So anyone in this particular group can then be able to actually edit and have certain things created and done for our wiki, right? So at the same time now, we also want to be able to work with the code, which would be something that we create and we work with until we are done with what we are hoping to achieve. So let's get working on something else. Let me just check. We are good to go. So we had said we wanted our system. Let's break down what our system does so that we start working on the database and some of the content we can have for our data. I've just opened a new tab. Can you see what is on my tab? Can you see what my tab contains? Okay, so we want to map out the project. Okay, so here are the things that we said we want to have. We want to have the database. We want to have the interface. We want to have the development cycle. We want to have the final system. Okay, so we then described a few things previously whereby we need to have a device. We need to have the serial number. we need to have the model. We need to have maybe the year of the device. We also need to know where it was sold. What else did we discuss in the last time that we spoke about this database? What else do we need for our database? Device, serial number, model, year, sold. Actually, let's change this to the date sold. We'd also mentioned that if a device is resold, how do we handle that? Tafat. How do we handle if a device is used but it's resold? Yes, so what do we have on your list?
We have cell phone.
Cell phone, model, serial number, brand, IMEI number, year, sales, manufacturer, trade, repairs, tracking, customer, avaper. Okay. So this was all that we did last time. Service provider. Employee. What else? All right, Sakata Pizza. Okay, so we've got almost the same things, but slightly different. But did we not do an ERD with this information? Okay, so I will be my ERD and my groups. Okay, with that being said, let's try and make sense of the list that we've got. I'm sure we can all see it. How can we get actual entities out of this? Or rather, which becomes our entity? Or what elements become our entities? Can our ME number be our entity? Why not? Right, let's get a couple of things we'll correct as we proceed. So we want to have our entities, right? And from the looks of this, we can have our cell phone as the first entity. We can have our manufacturer. We can have our customer. We can have our service provider. What else can be our entity? If we are tracking, what are we tracking? Are we tracking the customer? Are we tracking the cell phone? Are we tracking the model? So tracking entity they out it's part of a bigger element. Tracking edinomaji. G? Eh. So we put tracking. Pane, there another entity? Or do you think we will need another entity? Right. There's another question that I've got. We've got sales. Then we've got trade. What is the difference between the two? And I'm sure trade should have been trading, if I'm not mistaken. What is the difference between our sales and our trading? Trade-in, yes. Zakaseyane. Is not sales and trading part of a bigger entity? Or are they entities on their own? Let's say I come in, I want to buy a Samsung S4 cell phone, and I've purchased it. But at the same time, I could also come in with a Samsung S4 cell phone and trade it in for a Samsung S5. Is that the same thing? And if there's a difference, where is the difference? Mm-hmm. All right, still that makes sense, but the biggest question now is, what is the name of that entity? Sakatoisa under sales. then vakuzobhadhara pacho topaita sei? But if we do it that way, won't we need to know the value of the trading? Because look at it this way. We are saying when someone is selling something, they've got a figure. Correct? One such example can be, I know there are certain products that you can use a deposit for. So for example, you get into a shop, you put a deposit, and then maybe you get your item. Then you are then supposed to pay regularly. That's one way of paying. Some shops, you then say when you bring in your item and you are trading it in, you get a value for your item, and then you put more on top of the product that you have actually left, and then you get your product. In some instances, they don't do all of that. They just say it's an outright sale. So we need at least to identify the entity and how it should work. Leo. How can we name our entity? Or what can be the name of our entity? You are free to also nominate someone else. You can ask for help from someone in the class.
What do they call it? Mobile service.
If we call it?
Mobile service.
Sorry?
Mobile service.
Mobile savings. Does that work? Could you show it mobile service? Core repairs knows end up. Do you see how it becomes a bit complicated if the entities are not quite defined? So mobile service, like you are saying, will then have sales and trading. But at the same time, we've got tracking, we've also got service provider. So what can be our entity? Spencer. What can be our entity? What can be the next entity? We want to finish up this database and then add some content as we proceed. Because we want inengeji cover sales and trade. Tungoda sitaje. Inengeji cover sales and trade in yedu. Guys, we are working together here. What can be the name of the entity? Tantanzi mobile G. Leon Yeted mobile. Are there any other entities we can work with? Simba, you haven't also contributed. What other entities can we have? Or are we done? Okay, if that's the case, let's proceed. Now we want to put attributes to this. So we want, let's actually put it as a table with 6 elements. Right, whereby we say the first one is our cell phone. So we need a cell phone. We need a manufacturer. We need a customer. We need a service provider. We need a tracking. So we still leave it as mobile services, isn't it? Guys, right, so what elements do we need in each of these? We want to list the possible elements. Right, so for our cell phone, what elements do we want? Tavad. Model. Serial number. What else? Brand. Okay, what else? We spoke of IMEI. What else? Operating system. Okay, on IMEI, phones with two SIMs, they've got two IMEI numbers. So what of a phone with 4 SIM cards? How many IMEI numbers does it have? No. A phone with 4 SIM cards has got 4 IMEI numbers. So can we rightfully say that IMEI can be 1? The answer is no. We might need more than 1 IMEI number. So how then do we identify the cell phone? Or how then do we identify the IMEI number? Or how can we include that in our cell phone? So how can we identify the cell phone? At the same time, we can also have a phone that has only got 1 SIM card. We can have a phone that has got 2 SIM cards. We can have a phone that has 3 SIM cards. We can have a phone that has 4 SIM cards. So how do we identify the phones? Okay, so instead of IME, we can then put number of SIM cards. So that the moment we put number of SIM cards, we can then know how many IMEI numbers we want. So would it be right to then say number of SIM cards? How can we identify that aspect? But still description I covers this. Both we can have 2 phones of the same type, but in when is 2 SIM cards in Waina. So description, yes, works, but we need to identify using my SIM card. Sakatagadichi, number of SIM cards. But description, I think, also works. Anything else on the cell phone? Okay, for the manufacturer, what falls under manufacturer? Listen, what are my attributes? Date. Okay, so I don't wait date. What else? Pam manufacturer pay. Yeah, to answer is sakatoisa sa ye kana sa date. Date. Okay. Tafadzwa. Kuda imwe attribute nenda pana manufacturer. Contact. Okay. Chichi mojinenda pana manufacturer. Tamboisa mangomani, get a list akao. What else comes? Ko manufacturer yodu tinozoda nogadzira chi. Right. manufacturer wedu uyu taziva date rake taziva contact but anogadzirei right guys anogadzirei but mafoni api okay ndokupai muenzaniso Samsung ingori nema smartphone chete ine tumbudza nditi saka we need to know what our manufacturer makes ine matablets futhi saka we need to identify what our product is and then we take it from there saka chii chimwe chingapinde ipapo model here kana kuti brand kana kuti zvese brand okay saka toti name of manufacturer okay what else indaba ndaita mvunzo tatisina manufacturer handiti tata manufacturer tine cellphone ndizvo but inini ndine two mafoni ndine itel ndine Samsung right kana kuti ndatenga two mafoni itel neSamsung ndiri kudhilana manufacturer here kana kuti ndakudhila nemunhu ari kutengesa ndiri kudhilana manufacturer here kana nemunhu ari kutengesa nemunhu ari kutengesa nditi asi kana ndakudhilana nemunhu ari kutengesa nawo maentities here abva mashoko bozi ari kutengesa hatisi kumuona ipapapo achakwana sei mudatabase medu tina manufacturer ari kutipa zvaari kutipa tina customer ari kutenga zvaari kutenga kwaari kutengesa wacho ari kupa tingapagadzirise sei guys can that be the same as the service provider? Huh? They
can't be the same.
Saka tinoenda pagadzirisa sei? Tafadza. Tinoenda pagadzirisa sei? Bozo ngozi kuterera. Tinoda kuziva kuti mudatabase tiri kugadzirisa munhu ari kutitengesera namanufacturer vakafanana here kana kuti akafanana service provider. If not, tinotaura kuti tomuidentify sei munhu ari kutitengesera whatever we are buying. Tiri kuti munhu auya achitenga foni. Munhu auya achitenga foni. Right? Atenga foni yakagadzirwa namanufacturer. Asi to-identify sei azomupa foni yacho. Iwe wapinda mushopu uda kutenga foni. Iwe you are the customer. Wasvika kuti kuda foni inonzi chakati. Munhu yobva kutengesera. Iye wacho ari mushopu anokutengesera. Saka ndeyo toda kuidentify kuti ndiani anokutengesera wacho. Zvokwanisa kuita, but it's toda ku minimize now to generalize. So we want to know kuti kana tichiti tikuisa munhu anotitengesera tomuisa saani. Tomuisa se a part ye entity here kana toita a single entity. Iri ku-identify munhu iye. Zvokwanisa kuita easy, zvinokwanisa kuoma futi. Saka nanje. Vamwe mogona mubatsira. Hanzi tokwanisa kuita se single entity. So for example, we can say salesperson. Anditi. Salesperson wedu anenge achizoita an extra entity pama entities etiri now tochimupa ma attributes ake. Right, so tomuisa sachi toti Taylor tudari kutengesa wacho zobuda here tikadai panapa towedzera ne1 tobva tati Taylor. Right? Pana manufacturer tanga tapedze. Pana chimwe chinokwana. Pan manufacturer tapedze. Okay, and pana customer. What do we need pana customer? Saka toisa name. Kokana customer yedu iri company. All right. What else do we need per customer paid? Customer ID. Okay. What else? Chi? Phone. Ne email. What else? Do we not need what they have bought? Type of service. Type of service, no Buddha. I don't think type of service, no Buddha. We need to be able to identify good customer head guy, title and my details. But my details are too good at what is it? For example, you guys are students. So if we were to get your details, we get your reg number, we get your name, we get your surname, your phone, and your email. But what we are interested in is what you are studying. So we need a course. What we are also interested in is whether you have accommodation. So we need to know that about you being a student. So this individual is coming to us to purchase a product. So we need to know what they've purchased and the quantity of what they purchased. So how can we put that as our, or rather as part of our list? Because we want to know the products they've bought. They've come to us for a cell phone or cell phone. Or it might not actually be a cell phone. It might be a smartwatch, it might be a tablet, it might be a simple phone. So how then do we include that in our custom? Remember tambolista zvimwe kuno. Serial number ikwane manja. Bosi kuziva kuti munhu ayo anotenge kwatiri. Chii chaatenga? Ayo. But look at it this way. Tikaisa serial number tikuasuma kuti munhu atenga chinhu 1. Saka anenge atenga zvinhu 5 achakwanisa kumaaccommodate. And then at the same time we cannot put a service yekuti auya unoita trading. Because trading anogona kunge unoita trading chinhu more than 1. So we need to identify this individual. What are they coming to look for and how do we identify it? Yes, was there a contribution there? How do we identify what the customer has done? Right, let us proceed. Can you see what I'm sharing? Okay, let me reshare it. Now, can you see? Okay, so we were on receipt and we said we wanted customer ID and teller ID. What else can we put? So we'll put description, and then we'll put quantity. What else do we need? Time. And maybe date. I did it. So roughly, can we say we've covered all entities? Can we say we've covered all entities here? Right. Now, if we've covered most of the entities or all of the entities, we now need to have relationships. This one. Right. Let's get into that. And then hopefully if we finish, we can be able to do our database, and you have a copy of what our database should contain. Let me just make a table for these elements. Right. So now we have the following: cell phone, manufacturer, customer, service provider, tracking, mobile services, teller, and receipt. How are each of these elements related? How are the elements related, guys? Guys, did you test it up? What are our relationships like? Or one relationship that you can pick. Cell phone to manufacturer. Okay, so we can have in our relationship, we can have a cell phone and then manufacturer. And what kind of a relationship is it? What kind of a relationship is it between the manufacturer and the cell phone? How many cell phones can have one manufacturer? And how many manufacturers can have how many cell phones? Is it a many to many or it's a one to many? But tikatati many to many kataura kuti manufacturers anogona kuwanda asi cell phone iri one. Ipapo panofanira kunzwisisika, how do we differentiate between many to many and one to many? Because my cell phone, we are saying tese tikanzi tine Samsung, we might not have the same type of Samsung, this. But manufacturer yedu ndi one Samsung. Tikanzi tine Itel akada se akasiya, as they are all made by one manufacturer. So the relationship is one to many. But to tell you, manufacturer anengani one. As myself on another say, aka one. Ndizo. Okay. I say at the same time now, we are saying with manufacturer wedu na custom. Wanupindirana. Manufacturer wedu na customer pale pa wanupindirana. Kata atofi wakaona. Okay, kana manufacturer yedu na customer wasingaona. Kana customer gawe isaro phone yakafa. Inona tailor ere kana tinoona manufacturer in what? Saka zero manufacturer na customer wedu na relationship this one. Okay, so customer wedu na relationship nani? Ana relationship nani? Natel. Alright. Ko relationship yao yakamira se. Customer Oduna Taylor, what is their relationship? Many to many. Why? One customer can have many tellers. In this particular instance, it's no concept with it. Right. Muganga mapinda mu shop andit. Let's say mapinda kana ma okay. Matenga kuma 10, matenga kuma 3. Muja save one one teller. Kana ayo. Mugapinda ma okay muyame o mshop mune mapinda. Are you saved by one tail? So a relationship here, we need to also define what it is. One to many, and it. Okay, panning relationship be repaired up. Kotela ne product in customer ne product. Okay. Okay, customer ne product. Jagamira say. Tell me, you've just joined us. Customer name product. Ne jagamira say. To that relationship, you have one to many, many to many. Many to many. Wangu mofunge. Hands many to many. Is that the case? How do you describe that? Saka many to many. All right. What other link do we have? Service provider. Who is this related to? And how is it related? Who is our service provider related to? And how are they related? We've got our manufacturer, we've got our cell phone, we've got our customer, we've got our tracking, we've got our mobile services, we've got our teller, we've got our receipt. So it's related to the customer. How? Okay, how is it so? Who is the one and who is the many, and how do we differentiate? Service provider, we do not custom. How do we differentiate? Or how can we? Pana wangu wangopi na mama masada wa taura. Chimbotaura yo things. Routine. Anozizira ngatawo. Service provider do na custom. All right. Okay, pane imwe relationship yatasiyera. Ko tracking yedu. Tracking ingaito relationship. Chi? Right, pane yatanzwa pana apa cell phone. Nechi ne tracking. Saka inenge yakamira se relationship. One to one. One cell phone to one tracking. Okay. Panere imwe yatasiya ine relationship. Panere relationship imwe yatasiya. Right, let's proceed. Right, are we done at least? Okay, so which database do you want to use and why? Because we can use MySQL, we can use access. Right. Here's the two advantages and disadvantages of the two. When we work with Microsoft Access, it is part of Visual Studio group of software. So Access becomes easier. However, we can also work with MySQL, but MySQL then means you can only test it on a system that contains MySQL. So if it doesn't have MySQL, your software won't work. Okay, so I think let's work with Microsoft Access and then we create our database. Hopefully we can round this up in the next few minutes and then get to show how we can add this to our GitHub. So for example, we have done the map out of the project. Let me just make a copy of this. And then in that copy, I can come to my project. And then I come to repositories. Right? I can select my repository. Right? I can also upload a file. I can choose my file. I go to my downloads. I click on open. And then I call this map of database. Simple layout. I can click on commit changes. So in other words, I've added this to my project. So that's one way of actually adding it, whereby I've just got a map out of the project. I can also go to my wiki. I can also add it to my page. So for example, I can go to edit. I can just maybe just copy everything. Hopefully I can do a copy paste. I can paste it. Let's just see what it looks like. Hopefully that works. Lovely. Lovely. It works. But not the output I was expecting. I can then safely say each of these pages I can play around with them to get the results that I'll be hoping for. So in other words, what we are saying with our GitHub, we can be able to create our content as we progress. And by the way, for some of you who are not here yet when we started, I said you are supposed to have a GitHub page that shows that you are updating whatever it is that we're working. So you are supposed to be linked to my page so that we see what is taking place and who is adding what and contributing what to the final project. Okay, I'll repeat myself. We are working on mobile phone records. That is our VB project. So since it's a project, you will all have access to this project. So to be able to get your marks for this particular session, you also need to contribute something to the main project. So you will be connected to one project as a contributor, and then you contribute to what the project offers. So whatever we'll be doing, we'll be updating this repository, and you will also add to the repository. So you also need to have your GitHub working, and we design the project until it's fully functional. Right, so at the same time, let's just get into our access so that we just work on an access database quickly. We also add it to our repository, and we can close off our lesson. So we want it to be, what did we call our, it's mobile phone records. So MPRDB. So MPRDB. Maybe let's make those capital letters. Jeez. Okay, so that then becomes our database. Let me stop sharing, and then I come to our entities. So we want a cell phone, manufacturer, customer, service provider, tracking, mobile services, etc. So let's share my screen. I hope you guys wrote down some of the content that we had. The first element we had was what entity? Sorry? Cell phone. Okay, so let's go to design view, and then we call this cell phone. We click on OK. What were the fields in cell phone? What did we have in our cell phone? Cell phone had a model, serial number, brand, number of SIM cards. So model, serial number. Model, serial number. Brand, number of SIM cards, operating system, description, and then date. Right, so we need a primary key. We had not actually put room for a primary key. What can be our primary key for our cell phone? Serial number is our primary key. What if we want to relate it to another table? Huh? Our ID, and now we visa on purpose because we needed a primary key. So we need to actually define what our primary key would be. Satingaiti chi. Tingaiti chi primary key. Because we want something that identifies our cell phone. For lack of a better word, we can call it cell phone ID. Right? So we want to create another table. Right? The next table we can call it a receipt. And our receipt starts with customer ID. Teller ID. Description. Quantity. Time and date. Date. Right. It's telling us that the name is applied is a reserved word. Reserved words have specific meaning in Microsoft Access and in the database engine. If you use a reserved word, you may receive an error when referring to this field. So in other words, we need to actually change it. So we say this can be receipt date. And then we also change this one, and this becomes cell phone date. So we save that. We can save this one as receipt. Right, so we need a primary key. What can be our primary key here? Customer ID, teller ID, description, quantity, time, receipt, date. What can be our primary key? Per receipt. Was that a contribution? I heard someone say something. chichi ngaite ningi yedu chichi ngaite primary key yedu pa receipt. We've got customer ID, teller ID, description, quantity, time, and receipt date. But teller ID is the primary key guy. And the primary key kunge. You know what Chi? I think to kwanza uda. So I told the receipt ID. And then what is it? Is it a text? Is it a what? Sakainengerichi. Integer. Right, we can make it a primary key yakadai. And then I think if we save, we should be able to save it. But here's why I was saying we need to work with the database. If we are to generate our own receipt ID, that's one. We need to figure out a way of actually creating a receipt ID. So for example, if our receipt has a letter and some numbers and a check letter, we may need to at least know how that works. Let's say I go to my datasheet view and I want to put a receipt ID. Let's say, for example, I say my receipt is C02451D. My customer ID can also be the same thing as CS001. My teller ID can be maybe T010. My description can be maybe mobile device. My quantity can be 1. My time can be 12 o'clock. My date can be today's date, right? At the same time, we are then saying this must be unique. The first column must be unique. The next column should also be unique because it's linked to another column or it's linked to another attribute somewhere. Our teller also must be unique because it's linked to another column as well. The description would just be a mobile device. The quantity would then be a value. The time and the date. I did it. So in other words, we then need to at least make sure that we know this. But we've got a problem. When we're creating this database, we actually did not specify the time and the quantity as being what they are supposed to be. So let's go to design view. Our quantity, we put it as short text. Our time, we put it as short text. So the moment that we are then working with this, we'll have a bit of a problem because we need to specify what each element is. So for example, our quantity should be a number and our time should be a date time. So that if we save, it will then tell us that our data will be lost, but we want to continue, so we click on yes. And at the moment we have done that, we have actually changed the layout of our table and we've lost some information because of the misrepresentation of our data. Are we together? So no questions. Okay, let us proceed. The next element we want to work with is our manufacturer. So we create a table and we put the following. So we want the date, the contact, the brand, the name of the manufacturer. So we want the date, MAN date, brand, contact, name of manufacturer. Right, we still come back to the same issue now. We also need a primary key. What can be our primary key for this particular table? We've got the manufacturer date, we've got the brand, we've got the contact, we've got the name of manufacturer. For lack of a better title, let's just put manufacturer ID. And then this can be a number. So we make that a primary key. We save this as manufacturer. The next element is our customer. Click on save, we save that as customer. Oops. We also need name, phone, and email. Name, let's put it as customer name, phone number, email. The next element is our service provider. Service provider has type of service, cost of service, type of service, cost of service, contact, and customer ID. Type of service, cost of service, contact, and customer ID. Right, I think we also need a primary key, which can be service ID. Then we can make that a number, and then we make this into a primary key. We save this as service provider. Okay, so far I think we've done quite a bit. We now need to round up and have this as part of our project. So let's come back to our Google Meet. I stop presenting. I want to publish this to my GitHub. So I come to my GitHub, I go to my code, and I can add a file, upload files, right, so we choose the files we want to add. We go to documents and we select our database. I think we need to first close it. And then we go to upload. Oh, let's just try it. I don't know why it gave us an error.